The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to She is Shenomenal. I am your host, Tasha Champion, the Shenomenal Coach of Champion Empowerment. Always teaching you to love the champion you are. If you are new, if this is your first time watching, welcome. If you are joining us again, thank you for joining today. So I don't have like a whole lot to talk about, but as you guys know, every week that we've been doing this since the first episode aired, May 4th, I was talking about the second annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch. And it happened. It was just this past Saturday, and it was explosive. It was beautiful. It was engaging. It was inspirational, motivational. It was awakening. And above all else, y'all, come on. It was phenomenal. But wait a minute, because I have to give credit to the men that was in the building. So I got to tell y'all that while it was phenomenal, it was definitely phenomenal as well. The men brought the energy. They were engaging. They were celebrating women. Hey, Denisha, sending you guys some prayers. Hope everything is okay. And thanks for joining us. That's one of my Shenomenal queens. But the men were in the building and they celebrated us. And shout out to Dante Morrison, who really stood up to talk about how much he is in support of making Black women feel safe and making sure that we recognize that we are queens, and that the community of men do love on us and love us and want to keep us safe and protected. And of course, I have to shout out my production team, Pyro Media Network. This is the production you want to have with you on your side, because they were there in the building, engaging with my audience. They were getting some really good footage. The photographers were getting like beautiful pictures. I can't wait to share that with you guys. But I'm going to tell y'all something. I have to really give the biggest thanks right now to God, to my obedience to God, to my faith, because so much had happened just before the brunch. My account was hacked. My bank account was hacked. Like, it was so much going on that really could have shut me down. And I refocused. Every time I would have anything negative come up, I would go right back to God. I would go right back to knowing, God, you got this. Like, I am obedient in all ways, so that when things feel like it's happening to me, you remind me that everything happens for my greatest good. And y'all, he showed up and showed out. That brunch was packed. It was energetic. And like, I could not be more proud of my speakers, my audience, my vendors. Shout out to my children, Denver and Dylan and their friend Jade, who were doing all my check-ins, and my daughter. Y'all, I wish y'all could have seen it. She was running around there managing every aspect of that brunch. If the microphone sounded distorted, like, she would immediately shh, shush us so that she could get somebody to take care of it. And I mean, she was in her element. My oldest son, Deontay, was in his element in all of the recording. Shout out to Kwame Corbett, executive producer for Pyro, because he has been mentoring my son and it's been so incredible for him. So y'all see, like, I had a whole full staff and team on my side that was making this happen, people that were praying in the background, people that were there in spirit. And I'm really full. Like, I'm seriously, seriously full. Oh, I'm full in spirit, but let me tell y'all, that food was so good. Like, it's going to be hard when we outgrow this particular facility, the Hilton Garden Inn in Fontana. It's going to be hard to find a place with that level of food. That taste is like, it was bomb. It was so delicious. So shout out to the Hilton Garden Inn in Fontana, because they really just did everything. They were spot on. Everything was just fantastic. If you missed it, I mean, you know, this was the second annual, so obviously there's going to be a third annual. You're going to want to be in the building, and to help you with that, today, this is going to be after brunch part 1. So we're going to talk to a couple of people that attended the brunch, so you can get their side of it. You can get how they felt, what they took away, what the environment and the energy was like for them. And then next week, y'all got an extra special treat. You guys are going to get to talk to my chosen speakers, as well as the queen of ceremonies herself, Miss Regina Weatherspoon Bell, who was just the best host ever. I love her to pieces. But I'm excited to talk with these guests today because, of course, I'm going to love on my brunch, but it's really important for me to let you guys see what other people feel, so y'all know next year, oh my God, you have to be in a building. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to chat with some attendees from the second annual Shenomenal Brunch. We're just going to have a great dialogue and conversation. So stay right here. We'll be right back with my guest. All right, we are back. Thank you for staying tuned. And we're going to go ahead and bring in my guests, Sherry and Teresa, so you guys can get their view of the brunch. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. All right. So we're going to dive right in. But first, of course, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. So Sherry, starting with you, just tell us a little bit about you. And you guys, yes, these are some of my Shenomenal co-authors. So if you have not gotten the book yet, this is your time definitely to get it. Hey, Destiny, thank you for joining. So Sherry, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Sherry, and I am a mother of 7. I met Tasha through a cancer support group, so we are breast sisters, or breast friends. There we go. Along with Teresa. I am a substitute teacher. I enjoy traveling and having a good laugh.
Beautiful. Yes, you do. You keep us very much entertained, and I love your surprise trips of where you're going, and you don't tell us until you get there. So everybody's like tuned into your Facebook, like, where is she going? So you are a whole lot of fun to watch, and you're always so engaging. All right, Teresa, tell us about you.
Hi, my name is Theresa. I am a 50 plus year teacher, still teaching at the college level. I've taught everything from preschool to adult. I'm Sherry and Tom both through breast cancer, our breast cancer journey and survival. What else do you want to know? I'm a grandmother of two. I'm an artist and a quilter. I've exhibited all over the country and I'm still going strong.
Yes, you are. You are to all of those. I call her my high desert godmother. Like she is just one of the queens here in our community. If you go anywhere, everyone knows her. She's kind of giving it to you lightly, but she is like I call her world renowned artist. Like her work has been everywhere. She's a wealth of like information. She's a historian. Just you're just such a beautiful person to be around, so wise, and you like being around you is allowing us to sit at the foot of wisdom, and I enjoy every time we get together and have our moments. You're just awesome.
Thank you. Let me
Yes.
say something about that. As a grandmother, I'm tapping into my grandmother and her wisdom. So I can truly say that that wisdom comes from my grandmother.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So we are going to just really go right on into it. Now, both of you attended the inaugural Shenomenal Women's Brunch, which was really more about the book and celebrating that Shenomenal Women had become a #1 bestseller. We had become best-selling authors. Sherry, starting with you, talk about your experience from the first one and what do you feel was a difference in the second one?
Well, the first event definitely was focused on all the authors. Actually, more of the authors coming together to meet for the first time. And, just getting more exposure for the book. This brunch, things that were different is, for one, so I have to talk about the food. That the first event was actually more of a brunch, that we had a combination of breakfast and lunch food items.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was definitely more lunch, but they were both delicious. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
And then I think as far as people that attended, I don't know if there were more people that attended this event. But I don't know, it just was like a different atmosphere. But I really enjoyed reconnecting with people that I met last year because I hadn't seen them since last year. And it just was like a little different vibe, which was good. I took my daughter and I think it made an impression on her. She got to see all these professional Black people, entrepreneurs, and I think that was really good for her.
Beautiful. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. You keep calling her your daughter. I'm gonna keep calling her your twin, because she looks, I mean, identical to you.
Right.
Now, one thing I will say, I was initially a little bit disappointed because the Hilton actually changed the food selection. They changed how they did it. So last year it was just like, this is the brunch menu, here it is. And then this year it was like, okay, Tasha, you have to choose the items. And I'm like, if anybody will tell you, I do not like making choices for other people. So it was like, let me just flip a coin. But what I will say is, last year it was delicious. This year I think it was even better. So shout out to Chef Gordon who does the food there, because whatever the case, He keeps it on point. He keeps it flavorful. It was like really, really good. Teresa, give us your take on last year to this year.
Last year, it was more about meeting all the other authors, the excitement of having a best-selling book for the first time ever. That was never on my list of things to do, but it happened because of Tasha. So last year it was more low key. It was about meeting each other and getting together and knowing, sharing our lives with each other. This year is more celebratory. A year had passed, and it wasn't so much about the authors in the book as it was about celebrating women and celebrating young women. You know, the little 5-year-old who spoke, and Sherry's daughter was there. And I was thinking we need to bring more young ladies with us so that they can have that experience as Sherry described her daughter had. Yes, it was good to get back with everybody again because I hadn't seen everybody together in one room. And as my birthday weekend, it was a nice pre-birthday celebration for me. I was really grateful
and happy
for that.
birthday to you again. What I will say is, you know, with Lyric, she's 7 years old, and she just, for those who were not there, like she just did this incredible, right? She wrote that herself. Like, let me be clear. Lyric wrote that herself. She read it to me a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear that she was to open this brunch. And I thought how befitting of this beautiful 7-year-old Shenomenal girl here to open up an event about Shenomenal women, something that she will grow to be. And it really, for me, it kind of set a precedent of each brunch. You know, of course, like this is not a brunch so much for children, but I would like to see young girls open as we celebrate them and then transition into celebrating Shenomenal women. So shout out to Lyric Monet Page, just a brilliant, brilliant young superstar. All right. So first question, or I should say next question that I have, we had just really some dynamite speakers, really dynamite speakers. Talk about like what was most pivotal, Teresa, for you? What was that one thing that was like, oh, that landed the most?
The pinky moves.
Mm.
And I can't call her name right now. Tell me her name again.
Brisa, right. Okay. And I know where she came from. I think the three of us facing breast cancer, we've been in that place of where will we come out on the end of this? But for her to be in the position, she 1% chance of making it through it, to be standing before us and telling us her story and how important it is. Every little step we take is so important to the next step. So, yes, absolutely. Sherry, what about you? What was like that moment that was just like, oh my God, this resonates the most with me?
Teresa stole my answer.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Tell us what it means. Tell us what it means to you, because we all have that, but tell us what it means to you.
Well, what resonated with me about the pinky moves is that for me, anything in life, I always want to take one big chunk and try and complete something all at once. And instead of looking at it in little segments and, doing a little bit at a time. And that's something that I need to work on in my life, to have more patience and to be able to do little by little, or in Spanish, poco y poco, something like that. Because I had a friend that she says that to me in Spanish too. So that's just what I really found. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to hear you say you need more patience. You're a mama 7. If that is not patient, I don't know what it is. What is?
It's not patience. Wow. And I have more patience with other people's children, especially with students at school, than I do my own children.
Yeah,
So,
because I'm home with you.
right. So I need to pretend like I'm a teacher at home.
At home, right.
So,
Let
so
me
that
ask
I
you,
can
because
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, you had your daughter there. If you don't mind telling us how old she is, and can you share with us like what she took away? Did you guys discuss after the brunch? Did she share with you something that she took away from it?
So my daughter Kelsey is 19. She will be beginning her third year at San Diego State University this fall. She's majoring in marketing, and she's at the point where she actually could probably finish this year, but she's going to, I think, drag that out just because she's like, real life is about to happen. I have to get a job and get an apartment and take care of myself.
Right.
And so this is like kind of a confusing time for her. And I thought, for one, for us to bond together some more because we have some friction. And what I had mentioned earlier was that that's what she said, that there were so many professional Black people there. And she said she had a really good time too, that she really enjoyed it, that it was fun. And I think that she needs to learn how to network also.
Yes.
Being that she's going to be a graduate soon. So she needs to have a networking portfolio of people that she can connect with that is going to help her on this journey.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Miss Teresa, you came last year. What was it that made you say, okay, yes, I am going to the second annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch? Why was this like a no-brainer for you? You got your ticket super early. So why was it a no-brainer?
Because I wanted to reconnect with all the authors, not realizing it was going to be a little different this year. But I'm glad that I was there. I'm glad that I got my ticket. I not only was her message, Bree's message, important to me, but they all were. They were all like reminders of what as we go through life and we're busy doing this and that and the other, trying to jump ahead, like Sherry said, jump into stuff and want it to all work at once. We forget that it takes little steps. Everybody's message, there was a little glimmer of wisdom in each message to fit into that, taking one step at a time and being courageous and also having faith in yourself. So, and actually driving down there, I debated all the way if I was going to go. Initially, I thought, well, I'll just go in and say hi to Tasha and everybody and leave, because my family was supposed to come up for my birthday and my son tested positive for COVID and he wasn't coming. And then I wasn't sure if I should be in a crowd of people, So a lot of things going on. And then I bypassed the hotel. I went around the corner and found it,
Yeah.
So there were a lot of hesitations as I was driving down, but the messages that I got were what I was supposed to receive, and I knew it.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that, because we experience that a lot. I think a lot of people experience that with church, especially. You're like, oh God, do I feel like getting up? Do I feel like getting dressed? This is my only day off. And you don't want to go. And then you end up going. And it's like that one message that you needed in that moment. Right. And I love that you brought that up, because there was a young lady. I had another guest that was supposed to attend. She had a family emergency and she just sent her friend. Her friend knew no one there. She didn't know what this was about. And these are the moments that I recognize as God putting you in the right place at the right time. And there were so many messages that were really that she walked away with. And it was simply because somebody said, "Hey, I can't go. And can you go in my place?" And she was able to really absorb and take in what the messages were of that day. And I always feel like those are just little messages that we get to be reminded of how powerful God is, and will always put you in the right place. So thank you for fighting through all of the resistance and saying, you know what, I'm going to come. I even had people say, I'm going to come, but I can't stay the whole time. And next thing I knew, they were like hugging me, like, I'm staying for the rest of it. I'm not going anywhere. And they were really happy. So that really made me like truly, truly smile. You know, it made me really, really smile. Yeah. How do you guys feel about the overall message of awakening your Shenomenal life? Like, did you, and I know for each person, it's different. It might be something that awakened in you. It may also be something that you are reminded of. You're like, oh my God, you know what? I haven't thought about that in a long time. So, like, how do you feel about the overall message being awakening your Shenomenal life? Sherry, we'll start with you.
I think that for me, a lot of times I feel like I'm not living my authentic life, I think. And perhaps maybe that person is lying dormant, and she does need to be awakened to really feel like I'm living out my purpose.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Did you, I know you talk about, you took away the pinky moves. Can you talk about any other aspect where you were just like, okay, this dormant piece of me has been awakened in this moment?
I don't think necessarily that that during the speeches that I felt like I was being awakened then, but being reminded that, you know, almost as if I'm Sleeping Beauty and, you know, Prince Charming needs to come and kiss me on the cheek or whatever so that I can wake up. So it was more of a reminder, not necessarily like in that moment, but just knowing, you know, how you feel like I'm more than this,
Right.
what you are at this moment, and doing what you need to do to actually get to another place.
Yes. Right. Beautiful. I love that. And I'm glad that you said that, because in building out this theme and finding the speakers that I wanted, the messages that I wanted to relay, it was about not only maybe awakening, but also just being reminded. Because a lot of times we can hear things over and over and over again, and then you hear it that one time, and it's almost like your whole soul and spirit heard it for the first time. And you're like, but I've heard this before. But in that moment, it just has a different meaning. And that is what I wanted to see some of the audience members experience, whether it was a reminder or awakening. But you know that everything these speakers are speaking about is available to you, whether it's a pinky move to something you're already doing. You were just awakened to say, you know what, I really can take that next step. Because a lot of us, we see the big picture and that's what we want to jump to. And it's really the little steps that matter, and being reminded of that. So Teresa, same question for you. What was there any type of awakening or reminders that happened during the brunch for you?
Lots of reminders. The chapter in my book is about being an African-American female artist and the kind of nebula that we live in, because the world doesn't see us and don't acknowledge us as artists. hardly acknowledge women, period, as artists. But the reminders that I got from the brunch were, yes, you are, and yes, you can. And it's one step at a time. And it just doesn't happen all at once. It happens overnight. I think about our special guest who spoke and the comment he made about he and his mother and what people had said about he and his mother as a child and how different that turned out. So that was a reminder too. And as I look back over my art, I have art on display right now in Ontario at the art area. And as I look at it, I see my progress in the arts that I had forgotten about, because I don't see it all together like that at one time. And I'd forgotten. And in the forgetting, I forgot really who I was and what I was doing.
Right. Wow.
So that mission laying dormant, you're supposed to do something. In fact, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I sat on the side of the bed and I said, okay, God, you sent me here to do something. I am not leaving until it's done. So
I love it.
So all of that, the messages at the brunch reminded me of all these things. That sometimes, Sherry, I think we get into a little shell and we don't see, we don't see our potential. We don't see what we're doing or what we can do. And so the messages I got were those reminders and those awakenings. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by another guest from the brunch, K. Marie. And we'll also really talk about when you say, like, I'm going to use the word reflection, because a lot of times we are reflecting exactly what we are receiving. And sometimes we need those messages to remind us that we are a reflection of the good and the great that we get to have. So we're going to talk about that a little bit deeper, but let's take a quick break and then we'll bring on K. Marie and get her experience as well. So we'll be right back.
Pyro Media Network is a proactive network focused on providing innovative space for content creators and entrepreneurs. PMN is dedicated to giving its viewers a diverse entertainment experience while helping content creators elevate their production, engagement, and overall branding. To date, PMN has reached over 1 million viewers and listeners internationally, produced over 72 successful shows with high ratings and fanfare, and has housed over 135 content creators, brands, and businesses through entertainment and consulting services exclusive to Pyro Media. Pyro Media Network is a space that makes you feel at home. So if you or someone you know wants to make an impact, then contact PMN by visiting www.pyromedianetwork.com, and we will take your production to the next level.
All right, we are back and we are going to go ahead and bring on Miss K. Marie Gibson and get her take on the brunch. Hey, K. Marie, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I am well. Just got off of work, so I'm free. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll dive right into some of the questions that I was asking the other ladies about the brunch. But tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is K. Marie Gibson. I am a HBCU grad. It's a pretty cool thing to say. I am a producer, educator, storyteller, director, writer. So I currently work in the film industry. I'm a full-time production assistant at a high-end studio here in Studio City. I'm from LA. A little bit about me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, you attended last year's brunch as well. Why was it important to you to come back and attend the second annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch?
To be honest, I was thinking about my answer to this question. And I know since I was a little girl, not having my mom really affected me. And I know since a young woman, I've always clung to women, women's circles, women's spaces. It really filled that void for me. So I know that was truly the reason why I had to come back. Because, stories also transform you and they stay with you. So.
Yeah. And then you brought a guest with you, which is so appreciative on my end, because anytime someone says like, okay, I came last year, I want to bring a guest this year, it lets me know that we are continuing to build and do something well. So what was it in you that you said, okay, I'm going to bring this young lady to this brunch? What did you want for her?
I wanted her to have that same experience that I did, being protected and enlightened by other women. So Jazzy, she's my mentee. I actually connected with her earlier in the year. I had put together a Black History Month presentation from my high school, Dorsey High School, and she was one of the students that reached out to me. And I always believe in like giving back, the same way older women did for me. So I wanted her to have the same experience that I did, because she also was raised by her grandmother, just like I was, and didn't have her mother. So I'm like, she has to be a part of this too.
Yay. Did she talk about what she took away from it, how it felt for her?
Yes, she did. She talked about the pinky moves a lot as well. That story really stuck with her. And she really loved, because she's still young. She's 17. She was really enamored by the type of women that were there, and like their aura, their style. And same with me. Like, I love women. Like, we're just amazing.
Yes, we are all Shenomenal. So I love it. I'm so glad that that you shared that with us. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because it is good for us to know how we're impacting the younger generation that looks to us. We want these young women to look to the Shenomenal women, and not so much like the women who are only gaining popularity through their bodies or their skin or their bad behaviors, their neglectful behaviors. So I really admire that you brought her, and I thank you for doing that. What did you take away from this year's brunch? What was that one thing for you?
To be honest, it may sound selfish, but I honestly took that I need to be on a stage sharing my stories, because I really see how it can move people. It can really bring people to a new level of understanding of themselves and where they are in their own journey. I'm like, wow, man, like just looking at the stage, like who else is going up there, I really love stories.
So first, let me just backtrack with you a little bit. It is not selfish. It's an awakening for you. It's an area where you got to say, "Oh my God, that's me." And I can see myself on that stage. And like I talked about at the brunch as a young girl, especially in my teen years, I loved seeing Oprah. I loved seeing Iyanla. I loved seeing all these people that were holding microphones and just motivating and inspiring people. And I didn't know then that God was already planting seeds for me. So now that these seeds have been planted in you, how are you choosing to water them so that they can grow?
Honestly, the last time I was at the brunch and we did the activity afterwards, and that's when some of the ladies were able to come closer and share like their personal struggles and whatnot. From that one activity and from the other bruncheon recently, it taught me watering my seeds. The biggest setback for myself was not being vulnerable, because I thought that that would make me in a position to be manipulated as a woman, and not that being emotional and being sensitive as a woman is actually my superpower, and that you can actually be soft and powerful at the same time. So I think being around women who are feminine and soft and gentle and not like, oh, like I'm from the hood, that's how I'm gonna water my seeds, by coming into my femininity. And
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go off track a little bit, but I believe everything is for a reason. Being that the other three of us are just a little bit older than you, just a little bit, like just 2 years older. Sherry, starting with you, what is it? Can you talk a little bit about what it means to allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can grow the things in your life that you want to see? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think those are the things that's going to support Cam Marie as she continues to develop that.
That's something I actually struggle with, that
Okay.
I feel like that I have to have on, you know, have to have on my cape. You know, I have to be this strong woman, and it's hard for me to show my emotions and let people know that I'm weak. Um, no, actually, just to know that I'm human, really, that's what it is.
Right.
Because that's, you know, how everybody should be able to express themselves.
Right.
So, um, you probably will get more answers, Camry, from Theresa.
But sure, Sherry, I appreciate your honesty, because here's the thing, that was a vulnerable moment.
Yes.
Hmm.
Just you sharing that was a vulnerable moment.
Right.
Theresa, go ahead and answer that question as well, because I know you and I have had multiple conversations about this before,
Right.
but share what it's like to allow yourself the vulnerability so that you can actually use it to grow.
I was thinking about that as you asked the question, and I was listening to responses. And I don't know that I don't show that side of me, because as an artist, when you put it out there on canvas, that's your vulnerable moment. That's when people look at you and say, "What are you doing?" Or if you're writing a book or telling a story. Um, as the oldest of my generation, and a little bit older than you ladies, I am the next matriarch in my family. So I've always been raised with I I have to set the example. What I do, those coming behind me will follow. And that wasn't just in my family, but it was in my community.
Mhm.
So I think I've always been vulnerable. I've always been out there. I've always allowed my feelings to show in some way.
Mhm.
Um, I don't feel like I have to be strong. However, because there were four of us girls growing up, my stepfather taught us to box so we could take care of ourselves. So, that's what can I say? So,
Right, right. And I like to remind women, number one, because society puts this idea in our heads that
right,
when we cry or when we are vulnerable, that it's a sign of weakness. And I
exactly.
want to make sure that you, K Marie, you, Sherry, um, and Teresa, being reminded that anytime you're vulnerable is definitely not a sign of weakness. Anytime you
Right,
cry, it's not a sign of weakness. These
right.
are things that are a sign of strength. It takes strength to be vulnerable. It
It does.
takes strength to show our emotions. It takes strength to even share our stories. And all
Right,
of us have a story, especially when it involves other people, when it's things that have completely like hurt us to the core where we felt like we would never recover. It takes strength to do that. So I commend, each of you for being able and willing and have done the work to share your story. Now,
I,
speaking of that,
I was
go
going
ahead,
to say, can
Sherry.
I add something else to that?
Yes, absolutely.
So recently, my 23-year-old son, who did purchase a book, he finally read it. And he was surprised what he read about in my story, that
mhm,
he saw a very different side of me that he didn't know existed.
right.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And he's 23
Yes.
and he learned something new about his mom. So again, it's an opportunity for you to also just kind of pat yourself on the back or hug your heart and say, like, this was a moment that I was vulnerable and my own child got to learn something about me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So speaking of that, do you guys feel like the brunch was a safe space?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes. Yes.
Got you, Kwame. I'm glad that it was a safe space because it's what I want to continue to create. Now, Camry, specifically you, because last year after the brunch, we did a healing circle. And
Mhm.
that circle that was supposed to last about 30 minutes ended up lasting like about 2 hours, I think. And I specifically decided not to do it this year because I really wanted to see the difference. So you, K Marie, just like live right here on the show, tell me what you felt the difference was in having that last year and not having it this year, and what would you like to see for next year?
To be honest, I love the intimate, like I'm a quality time person, so I love the activity. I think the activity, it made the brunch resonate and stay on my mind a little bit longer too when it was time to leave. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I felt more connected to the people that were at the brunch, you know, because you were kind of forced to, based on how we were sitting, to kind of speak to one another. And yeah, and the circle also, how you sit people is very important too. Like it intentionally sets people up to like have to face each other and not be to the corner and stuff. So it was perfect.
Right. Okay, great. So would going into the third year next year, is that something you want to see us bring back?
Yes, ma'am. With
Okay.
Bianca as the closer, whatever is needed. Yeah, I love
Who
it.
else?
I love it. Bianca is amazing. Bianca is amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and for those who don't know, you guys may have seen the show a couple of weeks ago. Bianca and her husband Kenneth were on. They are the Core of You team, and they were the keynote and closers. And they will be on next week when I talk to the speakers of the Shenomenal Women's Brunch. They'll be on next week. But yeah, she is truly like the queen of closing out any event. It is, I mean, I can't even express what she brings to the table when she does that.
Tasha,
So yeah, go ahead.
can I say something? I
Of
was
course.
just thinking, because I'm a teacher and have been for 50 years, I'm used to standing in front of people and doing whatever I do. And at that point, I'm not really in my body. I'm someplace else. So I don't think about it. But even though I do that for a living, I wouldn't do what you do. That's my point of, okay, that's enough. I can talk all day long about art, but
Yeah, I think, I think that's such a key thing to say, especially because I know for me, I specifically know this with Bianca too. And I've seen this in other speakers. Sometimes you start just vomiting whatever God is giving you in that moment. In
right,
that moment. And somebody can say, "Oh, what was that you said?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
exactly.
Because you're
Right,
completely in a spiritual
right,
setting in that moment, and you're just going because God is giving you something he knows someone there needs to hear. And I do
right.
agree, it is like an out-of-body experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great way to put it. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and there's something that I want you guys to think about. I want to have your closing remarks when we come back from the brunch. So two things: your closing remarks about the brunch and what you walked away with, and then how people are able to connect with you. So we'll be right back with this last commercial break, and then we'll finish up. All right, we are back. And, before we close out, let me just give my heartfelt thank you to each of you, because what you guys give me in support and in love, I truly appreciate on just the most sincere part of my heart. But then, having this episode and sharing your feedback allows me to take it in and use that to continue to grow the Shenomenal Women's Brunch and to grow how we can connect to more young ladies and more women all across everywhere, which is really what my goal and my mission is. I want every woman to be a part of the Shenomenal movement. So in closing, I want you guys to share with me just kind of your final thought and then how everyone can connect with you. So we have just a few minutes, so don't be too wordy, but let us know how you feel. Miss Teresa, we're going to start with you.
Okay. I was thinking about having gone to a historical Black college also, and being in that room with all Black people. And I grew up during segregation. So to me, that's normal and natural. But we got away with that. We got away from it. And so we lost that community support. So Shenomenal Women Brunch brings back that opportunity for community support and to say it's okay to cry, it's okay to be strong, it's okay to fall down and get back up. So that's what the brunch really brings to me, in addition to all the other stuff. And how do you reach me on Facebook? It's the only place I am right now.
Okay, sounds good. Right, exactly. I am the connector of everyone. All right. Thank you, Teresa. Sherry, to you.
I like to think about the second annual Shenomenal Brunch as Shenomenal 2.0. I like the way that the idea and the book has, especially for you, has evolved into so many other different things. And I feel like the brunch was evidence of that. So I'm actually curious to see where all of this is going to take you. And what was the other question?
Just how
I can be reached. I can be reached on Facebook also, Sherry Connolly Pickett. And I just, last year started a blog page that I'm not consistent about, but you can read some stories and adventures of mine on singlechristianmom.com.
Wonderful. And you guys definitely follow her blog because Sherry is so funny. Don't let the calm tone fool you. She is she is so funny and very, very adventurous. And to my sweetheart, Cam-Marie, tell us what it meant, your final thoughts on the brunch and how people can connect with you.
Yes, ma'am. So my final thoughts on the second annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch was that the Shenomenal Brunch, it truly it brings women to a space where they may not be able to be fully themselves outside of that room. So being able to be back vulnerable, feminine, spiritual, the true core of women and femininity. And it also allows men, because men also are able to attend the women's brunch.
Right.
It allows men to be able to see how women operate in their higher selves as well, because women set the standard of morale for all societies and villages. If a woman is doing it, the men, the children will follow suit. So I think Shenomenal Women's Brunch calls women to a higher standard, especially when we're in that room. And people can find me, it's my name, at Cam-Marie Gibson on Instagram, Twitter. Yeah.
Beautiful. It has been a pleasure to share this space with you guys. It is always an honor to recognize you guys as Shenomenal women. You, Teresa and Sherry, as co-authors, Cam-Marie just as the Shenomenal woman. You're so beautiful and so powerful, and you're going to continue to grow in that. And then I love the fact that you're, taking on the mentoring of other young women that you see yourself in, so that you can show them a different path. That is so incredibly Shenomenal. And please let me know how Champion and Empowerment can be of support to you in that, because you have a whole Shenomenal village that's here to support you. Okay, so thank you guys for being with me today. Thank you for attending the brunch. I will see you guys next year at the 3rd Annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch. I promise I'm already cooking up some good things. So to everyone else, thank you for joining on this episode. Make sure you are back next week, same time, same place. We are going to talk to the speakers of the 2nd Annual Shenomenal Women's Brunch. You don't want to miss that episode. So have a powerful, productive, Shenomenal and Henomenal week. And I'll see you guys back next week. You guys hang on, but I'll see everybody else next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.